What I have here is a back saw that I bought at, I think it was a Habitat for Humanity a few years ago. It's been sitting here. As you can see, it's pretty rusty, and also the handle is broken. Now, just looking at this, I can tell that it can be sharpened, but to make sure, it's always good to check. What I need to do now is take the handle off. It's very, very plain, and it's kind of clunky looking, and I think I like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replicate it. I'm going to take this and I'm going to trace around it as much as I have here anyway, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm actually going to use the top side to draw in the bond, or something close enough to it. I actually brought over another handsaw that I have. This is one I kind of restored a few years ago, and compared the grip on this one to that one, because initially when I drew that hole, it looked like it was too small, but it's very close to the size that's in here, and this feels good for my hands. The next thing to do, and this is probably going to take overnight, is clean the blade. Now, when I did that saw there, a lot of people asked why I didn't use vinegar, and I have my doubts about vinegar, I still do, but I thought it would be worth a shot, and I'll give it overnight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the blade as it is, and I'm going to put it in this old cup towel, wrap it up. I'm going to soak that in vinegar and put it inside this bag and let it soak overnight and see what happens. With the blade soaking, I went back inside and I washed my hands. I also had a closer look at the picture, and I refined my template, drew an outline with red marker so it shows up a bit better. I have here the lumber that I cut a few years ago. There were some cracks in here and that come through on the other side, but nothing major. So what I'm going to do before I do anything else with this is I'm going to fill up those cracks with epoxy on both sides and let that set. That was 5 minute epoxy I used, but I gave it about a half an hour to dry. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean up both sides so that I can pick out the area that I want the handle to be. I can see my mistake now. I really should have done this step before I did any filling, because as it turns out, I really can't use the middle area on this. It's just too rotten. I mean, it's still sound, but I don't think it's strong enough to make a handle for a saw with. So what I've done is I've cleared a spot up here on the narrow end, and that looks pretty good. That has some good figuring in there that I can see. There are some very fine cracks in there as well, but I don't know that they're going to have any effect on the strength of the handle. While you're watching me wasting my time monkeying around with hand tools, I'm going to talk briefly about a new challenge that's coming to the Makers Mob, and that's a 6-week scrap wood project build series designed to create an online woodworking experience. You'll build along with YouTube's top makers, me included, without having to leave your own home or shop. Starting on Friday, May 1st, Neil Paskin from Past Makes will kick it off with the first of 6 scrap wood challenges. See you next week. On that Friday, Neil will release an in-depth, step-by-step woodworking tutorial showing you exactly how to build the same project that you saw live on his YouTube channel. Then on the following Friday, another maker will release his scrap wood challenge on the Makers Mob. If you're interested in this, check it out by clicking the link in the description, and I'll see you on the inside. Peel out my template here, and I've already, I'm feeling it to see if the thickness is right. It is a little bit chunky, but then a big part of that is how sharp the corners are. I think it's going to feel good. It's going to have a good heft to it. This is nice heavy wood. I'm going to clean the paper off here, and then I'm going to start rounding over the edges It is the next morning. I came out earlier actually and did some more refining on the handle. Did a lot of scraper work, especially on the roundovers. And then of course the sanding comes after. It's the morning for the reveal on the blade, and I have it right here. And we're gonna see if the vinegar actually worked. Okay, that doesn't actually look better yet. I wasn't expecting it to be sparkling out of here. I do know that you have to clean it, but man, I don't know. I'm gonna take the paper towel and try to wipe some of it off. And I've also got some soapy water with a scouring pad and see how that goes. Well, it did something. It got rid of some of the rust. Not all of it. There's still quite a bit up here. Maybe if I had left it another day. But in my opinion, what I've accomplished with the vinegar here, I could have gotten in about 10 minutes, not even, with sandpaper. I'm going to take it further. I'm going to scrape off these bits of paint that are on here. And then I'm going to try some fine sandpaper to do the last of the cleaning up. After I finish cleaning it up and smoothing it, because that's mainly what I was looking to do here, to make this as smooth as I possibly can, so that it'll glide through the wood better. I brought it in, I washed it with hot soapy water, and then I took the heat gun and I dried it off thoroughly. You know, it was almost too hot to touch, so all the water's gone. And to help keep it from rusting again, I'm gonna wipe on some water-based polyurethane. I found this to be very effective. All you need to do is just wipe it on and quickly wipe it off again. Next, I need to sharpen the blade, at least a little bit anyway, so that it'll be able to cut the slot in the handle. I was trying all along, and it looks like I'm deep enough. I'm going to put the blade in, and it looks like I was able to scoop out enough on the inside here with the tip of the saw to get the clearance that I need, and I think it's good. All I need to do is mark out the holes for the blade. I'll carefully lay the blade on top and use that as a template to mark them out. And then I'll drill them out to the right size, and that's 1/4 inch, I think. That's what it looks like on the old handle. And put the bolts in to see how they fit. So I'm just going to take the handle off again, finish the shaping on that, finish the sanding on that, clean those nuts up a little bit, and then I can sharpen the blade for real. Before I do the final sharpening, I have to do this. This is called flattening or jointing the teeth. And what this does is it gives me a reference point on each tooth. It'll be a shiny flat top and that I need to file down to. And that will get the teeth as close as possible, by hand anyway, to being completely even right across the length. The last thing to do with the blade is probably the most tedious, and that's setting the teeth. The tool that I'm using here is called a saw set, and all it does is it pushes each tooth over, like to one side, by a very precise amount. And this is important if you want the saw to cut evenly. And you do every second tooth until you reach the end, And then you flip the blade around in the vise and you do the other teeth that you didn't do on the first pass. And now with all the fun stuff done, the only thing left to do is to try it out and see how it works. A saw like this is traditionally used to cut trim and molding and works with a miter box. I have a small one here that I threw together quickly just to show how it works, but it's my intention to make a better one at some point in the future. And the reason why you would use this saw rather than a powered miter saw is that it doesn't make a big mess, it's very portable, and if you've only got a little bit of work to do, it's perfect for that.